to what is an extraordinary midweek preview this week on account of the missing meetings last week. 10 races at Warwick Farm tomorrow, and Gord has battled back from Canberra and struggled through the giant card to be here tonight. How was your expedition?
Expedition was absolutely fantastic. Met a whole heap of people down there that love betting, love gambling. You know? Big fans of the show. I think we've got more fans outside of Sydney than we do in Sydney, Mark.
Yeah. Sydney people don't like this stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, big hello to everyone you bumped into down there. As far as this card is concerned, we're going to be... look, there will still be the odd shower around, as there has been today, not so much out at Warwick Farm. Rail out 3 metres, and the track will be, let's call it a 7.5. Wide barriers are advantageous. I think forward running is actually advantageous, but it won't be impossible to actually sit behind them on the inside. Not a great play, but a play that's
possible. Yeah.
That's not impossible. It's possible rather than impossible. We kick off the split 2-year-olds open this giant card, and the better of the 2-year-olds is race 1. $3 in favourite Al Manzora from the Godolphin, O'Shea Yard. $4 is Fager, $5 the stablemate of Al Manzora, Sanctioned, out to $8 Zanzibar, $15 Final Frontier and Missed Out, $17 Want a Bolt. Not too sure what goes forward here, although I would suggest Al Manzora looks to push forward from her wide gate, Gord.
Yep. It's possible. It doesn't really have to do that.
Well, what's he going to do?
Well, I think they've got a big wrap on the horse, so don't they tend to get a bit more cute, this stable, when they've got a wrap on the horse?
Possibly. Look, it's because it's a straight run to the turn there of 700 metres or 600 metres. You know, they may. Well, Abdullah will be out there with his umbrella, poking the track, seeing what to do.
See, this is what sort of confused me as well. I've heard a few rumours that Abdullah and O'Shea are not on the best of terms at the moment, but he's definitely still getting the primary rides tomorrow, isn't he?
Well, especially with Sea Wreath on the other horse, and Abdullah actually trialled that horse.
Yeah.
So, what did you make of the trial of Sanction, the stablemate?
I actually quite liked it, and I was hoping it would actually be in the second and weaker of the races.
Right, so you could play both of them. Because
Yeah.
Sanction ran slower time than Al Manzora, but actually came home a good deal faster.
So, yep.
She was didn't appear to be allowed to do much.
I just thought Al Manzora, if you notice, and it's one of the things I look for in trials, is that it wasn't ridden out at all, and anything that was close to it was getting aggressively ridden. So that's a good sign.
Yeah. Look, 2 other things I want to say about this race. Fager, I thought, was perfectly ridden by Abdullah at the 1,000 at home, and he was a bit flattered.
Yep.
And the bottom one, Zanzibar, didn't get any opportunity in her race at Rose Hill. She was out the back 3 wide, chasing in a race that was turned on by the winner Limbo Soul, and she's certainly capable of a lot better. But I'd suggest that the 7 is the horse of interest in this race.
7 is the one that I think probably has the most ability, so I expect it to be winning. But also, I'm cautious of 2-year-olds that have already had the run. They seem to be performing very well this season. So I think the danger is actually number 1, Fager.
Race 2, and Glenn Pollitt makes an appearance here. Mr. Grumpy, he's $5.50. The favourite is actually Mileage, the unraced Engelbrett filly, at $5. $6 Farsight, $7 Territorial, $8 Astoria, $12 Catmosphere. Sorry, I missed $7 Paper Trade, and $18 Go Daddy Go. You know that Mr. Grumpy will be driving through here. He was a keen bean when we saw him in town 3 starts back, and he'll be in the van here. Mileage, I guess, won't be too far away. Catmosphere from Gate 1 will be in attendance. Anything to offer here, Gord?
I'm a little bit confused about this particular race. I was going to ask you about a few horses. I mean, how does this Mr. Grumpy's country stuff line up?
No, it's like what you saw with him in the Exceeds race at Randwick is what you get. That's him. Look, he's won at very short odds the last 2. He's just taken it up and been too good for them. I mean, look, he's an experienced, seasoned horse that could find being in the van to his advantage.
Those horses he ran against at Randwick are far superior to anything that's running around in this.
Yeah, the only trouble is that 7 of them beat him.
Yes, that's very true by a significant margin too. But look, I went looking for something a little bit wide here. I went for number 4, Go Daddy Go. It's about 20 to 1. I'll probably have a small play.
Oh, it's the man from Uncle connection, the Uncle Mo,
Well, it's just
Anthony Cummings.
It's just they're tricky, aren't they?
Yeah,
and he's actually done the right thing by putting it over a 1,050 metre trial as well. So, look, not with any confidence, because I didn't see anything that made me go, you know, wham, this is fantastic. It just seems like a sneaky one at odds that could run a race. I mean, I was going to ask you about Paper Trade as well. Like for me...
Bashed out in its trial, pushed right out in its trial?
Pushed absolutely out in its trial. I gave it a negative for the trial, but then I have a big opinion of Single Bullet. But
and I did hear Bjorn saying that he's got another Written Tycoon. Of course, his music magnate is by Written Tycoon. And he was mentioning this horse in glowing terms. I don't really see it in the trials, but he is starting out at home after trialling away at Rose Hill the other day.
So for me, the sneaky one at long odds is Go Daddy Go. The one that has actually trialled the best is number 9, Mileage. But then I've got a barrier 4, Kathy O'Hara. But I do think it's the one that's trialled the best.
Yeah, probably from a stable that is going to show you that it trials the best, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Look, it looks a very even race. I also found number 2, Astoria, who was probably most impressive in his debut trial back in the early season. And the other horse I want to mention is Stella Victoria, who did nothing in that limbo, did not much in that limbo style race, but of course was dragged back from the gate 11 to be last in the run. So I really think that she could do something, number 10, in what is a race up for grabs. Staying at the short course, in fact, back to 1,000, where $3.25, 15 Sunflowers in the third, $4.50 Wing Snipper, $6 Rose of Man, $12 Invincible Dame, Professor Marks, $14 Alpen Rose, and $16 Sweet Serendipity, $17 Torchbearer. Speed is, as you would pretty much imagine, although most of the speed is underneath. It's Clint, it's Wing Snipper, it's Torchbearer, and Sweet Serendipity from gate 1 pushing up underneath them. Away you go.
Another one where, you know, we love mares that are flying, and 15 Sunflowers is definitely doing that. But I just don't think the form round it is absolutely sensational. I thought she might have got away with just sort of getting the right run on the right particular tracks.
Yeah, she looks a horse that will attract a bit of opposition tomorrow in the betting. You know, like some resistance, because her latest run she was perfectly suited.
Yep.
Albeit with hindsight.
And then when you look about the form around her last 2 particular wins, there's not a lot that have come out of those 2 particular races. So I actually went for a horse that you always find, and I didn't last preparation, but I think that number 4, Rose of Man, sets up beautifully for this race.
Yeah, she hasn't got enough 1,000-metre form in her record to make you realise it, and also she's had about 8 straight runs on Saturdays.
Well, look, if you look at the distance stats, 9 starts, 1 win, 3 seconds, 3/3. That doesn't seem that impressive. But if you notice last preparation, the 2 runs over 1,000 metres were against clearly superior horses, and she did a very good job. At Ramwick over 1,000 metres, 1.5 lengths of Southern Legend. That's absolutely brilliant.
She finished with felines.
Yeah. And at Ramwick on the next 1,000-metre race, she ran about against a horse called Nieta and only got done by 2.8 lengths. I think she could be a 1,000-metre horse. I'm not worried about the not trialling coming into this particular start, because they always do at this mob. So have you got any information about some runarounds she's done or anything like that? Or?
No, and I wouldn't worry about it. But look, the perception is that she's less effective in ground.
Yes.
And that's perhaps why she's $6. Because as you've pointed out, she's got some awesome credentials there.
Well, you know, one of those stunts I mentioned was on a soft 7.
Yeah, I know. But she has perhaps done her absolute best on firm tracks. Not bagging her, just pointing that out. 3 Wing Snipper is a horse that I ended up thinking was, I suppose his provincial form is not really good enough, but he's returned well enough, and he'll be in the van there, and I thought was represented the horse up on the speed, 15 Sunflowers and Rose of Man will both get right back out of this race. So I thought Wing Snipper had good claims against those two because of his positioning in this race.
I was half interested in it, and then I interrogated the two heavy runs, and they were both in the bush. I'm sure there'll be money for him on that basis, but I thought the market might overreact due to the 2 starts on heavy for two wins.
That's race 3. Race 4 is a very interesting 3-year-old mile race, and Tamarack, making his city debut, is $3.25. $6.50 Caravali, $7 Shock Alert, $8 Potent Force, $13 Australiana, the boom's gone off there, $13 My Kind, and $18 Lord Macau, $21 Adado. Did I mention $7 Shock Alert? I think I did. Now, Gay supplies the speed here. In fact, it looks a very genuinely run race, which could be interesting with some of these horses stepping up in distance. Lord Macau from the deep, Australiana will go with him. My Kind not far away. Destroyer sits up on the speed. And My Friend Charlie, despite being back in distance, can poke up from a soft draw. Plenty to look at here, Gord. Where do you want to go?
Well, I'm going to start with a question for you. How do you line up this Caravali? I mean, comes over from New Zealand.
You were at Rose Hill. I don't have to line it up for you.
Yeah, well, I do, because you pay more attention to times than I do, see. So I'm all about style and...
All right, but what did you think about what she did the other day?
Well, I'm saying, are they just 2 setup runs? I mean, Hysterical and Shandana. I mean, there's always been a spruik on Shandana, and this horse did beat it by 1.8 lengths. Does that mean something or not?
I'd say because she's Kiwi bred, because she's Kiwi raised, the thrust is towards longer distances, and so he would be thinking that this race is right within her grasp. But I mean, she's well enough found, given that she ran around at 12 to 1 the other day, to be half those odds in this race, which looks a deep enough race.
Yeah, some sort of a chance. The one that I've got on top is number 6 Potent Force. Look, it was the best of the runs that were posted wide and came from behind at its last start.
It was very unsuited, by the way, the race was run.
I would have liked to see just a tad more dash for me to get really 100% involved. But yet again, last preparation, the form round your coming throughs and your show-ems and all that, that was just a magnificent form race, and this horse is out of that particular form race. So I am keen on it improving. I do like the up 200 metres, and I actually like the Glenn Schofield booking, because it seems like his type of horse where it's just about balance.
Don't tell Glenn.
Yeah, I won't. And then also there's the one where it could be anything, but we don't know yet. I mean, it only won a Beaumont last start, which is number 11, Tamarack. I'm giving it a slight negative on its... I mean, I know it didn't have all advantages and probably couldn't win the race. It's first, second to Peaceful Sea and Sleek. I mean, I see anything with Sleek form and...
Oh, you're not happy because you've been down to Canberra and what's Sleek get run over again?
Well, I was not interested in backing it at all.
What did you make of the fact that Tamarack, he was like a camel coming up to the turn, and then at the 150 he starts sprinting away from them like a gazelle?
I think that's a negative.
Yeah,
I like horses to cruise up, blow
travel
away.
A bit better.
Yeah. I think travelling is important, particularly on wetter tracks. But yet again, I don't know what he is because he's only had the 2 starts. So definite chance number 11. If I get the right price, I will be backing it. But the one I'll definitely have something is number 6 Potent Force, and then I will talk to some people about number 4 Caravali.
Your people or someone else's people?
A few people, but I'm not cementing it as a bet yet.
Tamarack is on top for me, but I couldn't get him anywhere near 9 to 4. I think he's a horse of talent, but seems marked too short, especially 1350 up to 1600 at this stage. Australiana seems way out of the market at $13, given that I thought the girl rode him very poorly at Wyong last time. Prior to that, he was a 3 to 1 chance in a Saturday race. Caravali I've been looking for, but once again, it looks too well found. And
isn't the Waterhouse stable showing that fighting spirit these days, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you see Canberra, Dark Eyes?
There you go.
Totally against it, I was. And it looked like it was done for all money.
Yeah, well,
and
you'll be
just
looking
kept
for a
on
girl with
giving.
dark eyes next time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's race 4. Race 5 is over 1,300 and it's one of 2 divided races. $3.20 Dortmund, $4 Drachenfels, $6.50 Ajani, $6.50 Octavian Augustus, and $13 Star Shaft is the best of the older horses. The speed comes from Dortmund down underneath them. Octavian Augustus could be persuaded further forward tomorrow from a wider gate. Drachenfels won't be too far away, and Ajani will posse up from his gate. Looks a good race, Gord. Which way are you going?
Well, they're sort of the horses that are chances are tied together. Like they either have history against each other, or there's a common horse that they've actually raced against. I was surprised that Dortmund went up so short, to be honest, because I've always thought that Drachenfels was a superior horse. Is it because of peaking to came back?
What about when they clashed? Dortmund was coming off a break. He was coming back from the Magic Millions, which has been rubbish. And Drachenfels was coming off a city race where he started 7-4.
I think with these lightly raced individuals, you're looking for the one that you think has more ability. And I don't think that margin in which it beat Dortmund complemented Drachenfels at all.
No, he had to wait for a run on the rails. I thought that was it was an icky sort of position to be in, and he showed.
I like the barrier 1 to barrier 6 as well.
Yeah,
what I'm saying is, why is Dortmund favourite and not Drachenfels?
Well, because subsequently he's gone on and just smashed them in good time. I mean, he made all the running himself. Look, I think they'll end up the other way around. Well, perhaps it depends on the way the track's playing there by race 5 and what he needs to do with gate 1 there on Dortmund. What are you saying about the other 2 3-year-olds, Ajani and Octavian Augustus? Both of them unsuited last time.
We mentioned this before the show, actually, that we were so keen. I was actually so keen on backing Drachenfels last week, and for some reason or other, I'm going to be backing it tomorrow. I'm not going to lose on it, but I've actually marginally got number 10 Octavian Augustus on top. I don't know why, because it's one of these spruik horses, isn't it, that actually hasn't done anything yet. Normally that's not my go. But I like the second up. It had the 800 metre trial, the 900 metre trial, ran over 1,300 metres. I think it's going to springboard off that kind of platform in this particular race. Yet again, I'm a Glenn Schofield man. And I love the fact that it goes from barrier 4 to barrier 8. I think it can just get in the right spot and be very dynamic late. And as far as a wet truck is concerned, I think it ticks those boxes as well. Ticks those boxes, Mark.
Yeah, what are you saying about that Fragonard race? It looks a bit fragile.
Well, for me, I think as far as the stable is concerned, they have a higher opinion of Fragonard than they do of Drachenfels.
Okay. I'd be surprised about that. She's a filly, he's a male, and I'd suggest that they've got Drachenfels penciled in for big things later on this autumn. 7 on top from me. That's the end of part 1. We'll be back with another 5 races in part 2.
Woo!